Hey guys, and welcome back to On Wednesdays We Wear Pink. This is part 2 of our relationship episode. Let's not waste any time and jump right in.
I didn't say anything.
I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays, we wear pink.
I would say the biggest thing that ever influenced me with movies and media as far as my interaction with other people, friendships, relationships, whatever, were movies where people lied about who they were. You are such a loud drinker. Like, it literally blows me away. Figuratively blows me away, and it literally... I don't understand.
What are you talking about? Continue.
I was trying to talk, and I just heard gulp. How is that even possible?
I tried to be a quiet drinker, and I cannot.
Just drink like this or something.
Okay, continue.
No.
What were you saying?
Stop drinking. I
can't not drink that loud.
I'm just waiting for you to finish.
Continue.
Any movie where people would lie about who they were in order to seem cooler or to get into another crowd or to make themselves more interesting or whatever. So big ones for me, that the first two that popped in my head, the first one is Max Keeble's Big Move.
Yes.
That's the main one. And then The New Guy was the other one, because those were always the ones that in every movie, in any movie where they have this, I cannot stand the all is lost moment. The moment where everybody figures out your secret and nobody wants to talk to you. You've alienated all of your original friends, so you literally are just no one and you're nothing. And you are just in this incredible, like, lonely depression. And I was like, I literally never want that to happen to me. So I am forever going to be 100% myself. And then whoever's around me is around me for me. Period.
Shit, that's actually a really positive thing to pick up from pop culture.
That is what I took.
You said that and went, that's not happening to me.
I was like, nice try, bitch. Like I caught the message. Be true to you. But,
wow.
Yeah. So that's
funny.
The main thing that influenced me by any movie like that or most pop culture things. The one thing, however, that I would say that I kind of more recently have been looking back on it and I'm like, yeah, but would Max have ever met that hot girl if he hadn't lied about who he was? If he
absolutely
just stayed normal Max Keeble? So it's kind of like, at the end of the day, you do get rewarded for going out on a limb. But like,
yeah, but going out on a limb doesn't need to be lying.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be lying and alienating all of your friends. So there is that kind of that thing, but I just, for the most part, I was like, you know what, whatever, like, I'm going to be me, and whoever likes that is going to like it. So that was kind of my thought with that, and that was also, I think, what made it, not that it was easy, but what made it more palatable or what made it more possible for me to kind of come to terms with my own sexuality or with what I was dealing with, was that I was like, all right, if this is where I'm at, this is where I'm at. Like, as far as me not wanting to be that, like, that was something that I struggled with for a while. But when I got to the point where I was okay with it, like, I was like, all right, and now I will let people know.
Yeah. Because
this is where I am, and the people around me need to know who I am when I decide that, and they can either stay or go. So,
and was there any anything in media, whether a celebrity or a film, that kind of like helped make that transition for you a more positive one? Like, was there anything that ever portrayed that sexuality as something that you're like, you could be okay with in yourself?
I would say it was hard for me just because growing up as, like, you know, growing up straight, you know, or straight enough that you hear kind of the way that people mention or like talk about gay people when they're not around, is it's not necessarily maybe like negative all the time, but there's always that kind of undertone of like negativity or of like,
that's interesting,
like disrespect or judgment, that I was like, oh, I don't ever want people to look at me like that or see me that way or feel that way about me. So I think the main thing that really helped me was just times progressing, really. just people becoming more common and more okay with it. Me, just in general, being okay with it was a big one. Falling in love for the first time, that really helps because you're just like,
Oh, we about to get into that story.
that's
Is that who I'm thinking it is?
Yeah.
What name are we picking for him? Asshole. He who shall not be named. He who shall not be named. Because then I'll talk about mine, and she will be known as she who shall not be named.
okay.
You know who I'm
I
talking
guess we
about.
can
Right?
go for that, but that's the long name. Maybe just I don't know. But so that was something that I was just very
What
just like I want to shout this from the rooftops, but I can't because no one knows.
Oh.
And then that was hard, and then it was bad, and then I had to tell people. But
Was that that story that we're eventually going to get to? Was that the straw that broke the camel's back? And like telling people?
absolutely.
Because I remember because you were lamenting that for a while, and then did someone just like? Did you finally just need to talk to somebody about it?
I actually made a video about it on my YouTube that wasn't in so many words, the story, because I still wasn't completely, I didn't want to put out, I wasn't out to my mom yet at that point. It's not something you have to actively broadcast, which was the step that I took in between, was between me being okay with it, but not ready to tell anybody yet, was the process of me being all like, okay, I'm fine with it. If you ask me, I will tell you, but I'm not, or if you hang out with me enough, I'll mention something and you'll know.
Right.
But it's less of like an outward, like, you know, like now if like some guy runs by without a shirt, I'm like, he's hot, you know, and like
Chris Evans' delicious body.
oh my gosh, there you go. See, that was this isn't my first mention. You just thought I was joking before.
No, I knew. Oh, you mean them?
Them.
What? You're gay?
Speaking of Chris Evans' delicious body, that was my probably sexual awakening. Was I mean, before I really even knew
Wait,
it,
what?
was Not Another Teen Movie.
Oh,
His,
that's right. He was in that.
whipped cream bikini. I was like, that's very interesting. Interesting.
Really?
Yeah, didn't know what was going on.
So you said something really interesting was that how people talk about gay people when they think they're not around.
Yeah.
What would be an example of something that you picked up on growing up?
I would think mainly my it was probably a lot of my mom actually and my close friend group because my mom, my family was very actively watching me from an early age because they were like, he's probably going to be gay.
What gave that away?
I played with Barbies from like when I was really little, and I mean I was just always very probably effeminate. So it was just like a thing that they were always wary of. And so like just always growing up, anytime there was like a gay person or there was like maybe a gay joke or a gay scene, my mom would kind of be like, oh, that's like she would just kind of have like a face or like an expression that was very like, that's wrong, you know? So it was kind of like just very deep in there that like, nope, no. Your main person is not accepting that, so you shouldn't. So that, and then like just the way like growing up with like guy friends, like if somebody seems gay, you're just not nice to them, which sucks. Because I had a slew of gay friends actually. More of them have come out since I've graduated and gotten older. Most of my friends now that I was friends with in high school that were straight are gay. But just like I was on a gymnastics team, all guys gymnastics team. Not they're probably most of them are straight, but like there every now and then you'd get like there was one kid that was I don't even know if he ended up being gay, but he was just weird, and we thought he was gay, and we're pretty sure he would walk around like pinching people's butts. It was weird, and like we would always talk about him. We'd be like, dude, he's so gay. Like, what's his problem? Blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I'd been involved kind of in so much of that, I guess, like, bro talk or that, like, you know, like, we're on this side of it. We're doing the right thing here. And this person is weird, that I didn't want to be flipped into that position. So,
And I will say, to this day, that's still something that really pisses the hell out of me is like people, they will look at how someone acts and goes, oh, are they gay? It's like, oh, guess what, Janice? Doesn't freaking matter. Like, but he plays with Barbie dolls. I don't care if he can quote every episode of the Kardashians. Like, that has nothing to do with someone's sexuality.
It's true.
And it really, I think that's the thing that pisses me off more than anything on both sides, is that gay, straight, we have very limited ways of defining. Our sexuality, honestly, is not who we are in terms of, like, in the grand scheme of things. You know, what sexually attracts us does not define what the core of our purpose here on earth is. It might affect who we partner up with, and obviously the morals and values that we pass along, but it is not a defining factor of, like, Benji is caring, Benji's creative. Benji's sexuality has nothing to do with that. Gay, straight does not matter.
Truth.
You know, and like what Benji or myself are interested in, it's like should have no bearing. And in fact, that's one of the few things I get very infuriated over. Like, if people, like, if they have like a very limited mindset of like, oh, well, that guy does that. And to this day, even people who are very like queer accepting, very much involved in the
LGBT.
Wow.
QI.
I was about to say the TGIF.
Yeah, I know. I heard like 3 different
everyone in the
acronyms
TGIF community, no, everyone in the LGBTQIA community, even sometimes them, it's like, it's a very limited view of like, oh man, I dressed up in dresses and I did that. That person must be gay. It's like, well, maybe that person's just creative.
Yeah, I never were.
Sexuality should have nothing to do with how you express your creativity. Yeah. Unfortunately, it is. And that's one of the reasons why I did participate in RuPaul's Drag Race, because I'm like,
break those
doesn't freaking matter.
Stereotypes and gender norms and all that stuff. That's great, and you won the damn thing. There you go. Take home the gold and that shiny suit.
Sachet away.
Well, even like my thoughts and my own judgments towards gay people before I realized was just like, oh, well, if that was me, I would just marry a woman instead, or I would just not get married until, or blah, 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 blah. And just like, yeah, it's easy. It's fine. You just don't do it. And then you get those feelings and you're like, oh, shit, that sucks.
And like, was he who shall not be named the first real... Oh, no, you had someone before that, right?
Yeah. So my best friend in high school is...
Are you trying to come up with a name?
No, I'm just trying to think of like where to go with this. So we were friends when we were younger. We lost contact. We got back. We started hanging out together around my junior year of high school, and we got very close again. And then my senior year, I don't even really remember a specific instance. It just I started to just kind of, I don't know. I started to be very like, I just started to enjoy my time with him more and more and more until I started realizing like, oh no, this is something different. This isn't friendship. This is like an attraction. Like this is something else. And then just kind of trying to be like, oh no, that's nothing. Oh no, like push it down. That's not you. That's not what you want. Blah, 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 blah. And then when I was realizing
I'm sure that helped.
It didn't. When I realized like, oh, this isn't, that's my priorities are changing. What I want, what I'm realizing what I might actually want, starting to be like, well, like he doesn't want that. Like leave it alone for him. Like whatever. Don't ruin a friendship. Don't be weird. Don't be aggressive towards him. It was hard. It's hard to crush on a friend. It's not fun.
I talked about it before. Crushes suck.
Yeah, I was like, I do it a lot. But so it was my senior year. It had gotten to the point where I'd had a crush on him for like a heavy crush for like a few months. And it was just at that point where I don't know if you've been at this point where it's just like, you're like, I have to say something or I have to do something or something. 'Cause like I cannot hold my feelings back for much longer. So I was kind of like, okay, here's how we'll play it. I was like, we're about to graduate. I'm about to graduate. He was a junior at the time. I was like, I'm about to graduate. We will spend one last summer together as best friends. And then I will tell him that I'm into him. he will probably not want to be my friend after that, but I will be in college and I will make new friends, and that'll be okay. And then I was like, and then if he does,
Actually, it's a pretty solid.
it was a solid plan.
It's a better plan than I had.
I was like, and then I was like, if he does, that's cool. But like, that's not how it went. We ended up, I wasn't a big drinker all throughout high school, but I did start drinking like halfway through my senior year. The first time I drank was with him and another friend at one of our other friends' houses. And we kind of drank, and I took a shot, and I ended up like dropping the shot glass and breaking it. So the friend's house that we were at, I didn't know her. So she like got mad at me for breaking her shot glass, and she was like, get him out of here. Like send him, have him sit in the living room and sober up. So like they literally like put me in timeout and like had me like in the living room by myself, and I was like all upset. And so like my best friend came to me at the time. Let's call him.
Oh, wait. Is this the best friend you're interested in?
Yes.
Okay.
So
are we not giving him a name yet?
Yeah, we haven't. Let's call him, what should we call him? Eric, Mark, John, Mark. We'll call him Mark. So
Mark it is. Solid.
I was like, so he comes in, and I was like, oh, I was like all upset, and I was like she's just bad. Like I didn't even do anything. Like it was blah, 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 stupid. And he was like, it's fine, it's fine. I was like, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, hey, listen to me. And he like grabs my face and like pulls me in really close to talk to me. And I kind of was like, oh, okay. And he was just kind of like, but like we were drunk, so it was more of like a, hey, listen, blah, 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 and like kind of like thing. So I was like, so it kind of clicked in my brain. Oh, drinking means that you're allowed to touch people and it's not weird. Like. And so that was kind of like, I was like, maybe we should drink together more often. And that was kind of a thing that...
Whoa, that was an interesting connection.
Yeah. So from there, we started drinking, not a lot. Like it was maybe once every month or two, we would like, not just me and him, but me, him, and our other best friend, Haley. Hey girl, what's it? We still best friends. We'd have like nights and we would drink, and it was fun or whatever. We were safely at home. We weren't driving. We weren't doing anything stupid. One night we are wanting to go to a party. This was like the last couple months before the end of the school year. We had started recently like going to parties, and like that was fun. That was cool or whatever. And so like that weekend, like it was like Friday night, we both wanted to go to a party, and like our other friend couldn't come, and so it was just going to be us two. And then we were both texting people, and nobody was like responding. Nobody had parties. Like the people who were like didn't know anything. So we're just like, okay, so like what should we do? When I was looking back on this, I was like thinking about this whole situation a little bit later, and I was like, oh man, that was just so like, it was such a crazy thing. Like that was kind of organic, everything that went down. And then like I later looked back at the text messages and realized how intentional I was being. So like I literally texted him, and I made it all super casual, but I basically was like, well, you know, even if there's not a party, we should still like hang out, right? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, like, I mean, I can bring the alcohol to your place and we can just drink there and chill. And if something comes through, that's cool. And if not, then I'm cool just to hang out and drink. And he was like, yeah, that sounds cool. So it's like, all right, cool. So ran over to his house. We had alcohol. Drove over to his house. We had alcohol.
Let's get there.
We were drinking, talking, dancing.
What? I'm sorry. You mean you danced separately?
Yeah.
I was like, y'all were slow dancing together, and it just caught him off guard. He's like, whoa.
Oh my goodness. Wait, what? Yeah. So, fun dancing, talking, doing, friend stuff, drunk friend stuff.
I wouldn't know. I didn't drink because I was a good Christian.
That's good. It's good. Feelings and drinking don't
go well together.
Sometimes they do. In this case, they kind of did. But so at one point, we're in the kitchen, and like he's sitting down like on the floor, like back against the wall. And I went and sat next to him ish. Like I was kind of like, I like sat with like my legs, like he was like sitting with his legs straight out, and I sat and like put my legs like across his legs. And like just kind of like was like leaning against him, and I don't really know my thought process at this point. I'm usually very in like big moments, I'm usually good with knowing my thought process at the time. Didn't at this point. He was very vocal about the fact that he had a very active like turn on spot. Like he loved getting basically his neck kissed and like stuff. So I was sitting next to him. I was into him. His neck was there. I just started kissing his neck and such. And then
oh my,
we made out for a hot minute. And then
how hot was the minute?
It was like, it wasn't long. It was like maybe like 7 to 15 like seconds, like Mississippi seconds.
Oh well, continue.
But like that happened, and he was like, "Whoa, what the hell?" And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "I'm so sorry." Like, blah blah blah. Like, I can't believe I did that. You know, the whole spiel. And he was just like, no. He was like, no, like, stop apologizing, explain. And like, so I was like, hey, like, had a crush on you lately, and like, blah blah blah. Like, I don't really consider myself gay. I've just never, I have feelings for you, and this is kind of what it is, and like, blah blah blah. And he was like, okay, well, and he had like, we had a nice conversation, and basically he like admitted that he'd kind of been in the same boat before with a friend, and so we just very much opened up about that, and you know, we had a really chill rest of the night, and then the next day we hung out, and it was cool, and everything was
brewskis.
fine. Had some beers and shit, and then everything was normal, and actually everything was better because everything was out in the open, and it was all cool. And then the next weekend, my parents were out of town, and we got drunk again, and some other stuff happened. And then, long story short, we weren't friends anymore.
One thing led to another. There's a lot that happened in between there.
That's a whole... I could go on for hours with my crushes. That was the only one where anything actually happened, though.
That was... Well, shit. Now I need to know what happened, but I guess that's a good stopping point there.
Yeah. Oh, but also really quickly, that was my first kiss.
That was your first kiss?
That was my first kiss, and it was amazing. Let me just say, like, if you haven't ever kissed anybody, made out with somebody that you have feelings for, you got to try it because it's the best.
I remember my first kiss was in 2008.
Mm-hmm. Dang.
This girl shows up. This is after, by the way, so... Early 2007 is when I gave the note to Curly and then broke up with Curly.
Dark
no.
house.
And eventually I end up apologizing to her and apologizing to Rachel, who I had given the first letter to, which was kind of sadder because she had reached out to me, and apparently, like I said, we hadn't explicitly broken it off. So she's like, do you still feel the same way? And I was like, oh, I don't.
No.
Because same with her. It was like, once I got it, I didn't want it.
Man.
But at this point, I still hadn't kissed anyone, really hadn't done much other than like playing footsies with someone.
Boop, doop, boop.
This girl in my neighborhood. Oh, a really sad button to that entire story is early 2008. I have the premiere for my first movie, Probe. And around this time, Facebook, you know, it's becoming prominent. And the interesting thing about Facebook is there was this girl, another rando girl that I kind of liked, that went to my sister's dance class. Completely, she moves away, stops going to or she doesn't move away. She just moves farther away. Doesn't go to my sister's acting class. Her dance class anymore. So I don't see her that much. So I, out of sight, out of mind. It's not the case in this new world. There is no out of sight. There is no out of mind. I was clearly in the generation where it was like we had no social media, and then we had all the social media.
Yeah, that was fun.
So she pops up on my MySpace.
Wait, you had no social media? I forget how much older you are than me.
Shut the hell up. She pops up on MySpace, and she has got this amazing profile picture. She's got like strawberry red hair, and it was so gorgeous. And I saw her in my sister's top 8, and it was like a random generated top 8. It wasn't even like her specific top 8, and I just went, oh, I remembered that I had such a crush on her. And that was the first time. So up until this, I'm basically interested in girls that are in my peripheral or in my vicinity. Yeah. You know, because like I said, even with Rachel, as soon as like she was like in Hawaii, I liked her for a little bit, but then it was like I couldn't keep up the interest. But I remember my sister's dancer friend. That was the first time when something that I had completely forgotten about was brought back to me on a silver platter and said, hey, remember this random woman that you could never make it with but forgot about because that's how life naturally progresses? Fuck that.
She's
Look
right
at
here.
her, and she's beautiful. So I strike up a conversation with her. And that was the downfall. For me, society, when I was now fully immersed in the rabbit hole of like, not only am I now pursuing women, I am pursuing women that there's no possibility of getting. It's just the promise of a woman, you know, and it has nothing to do with her. It's just she was the promise of a woman.
She was the closest thing to a possible yes at the time. And
it wasn't going to happen, but I couldn't get her out of my mind. And for someone who kind of has like almost an ADD, obsessive mind, that was just, you know, that tapped into something that I wasn't ready for. Like, and already with pornography, you're dealing with kind of like the promise of something that isn't there. But now here's a human being that you get to linger over. Here's a human...
something that's out there in the world waiting for you.
And you can't have it. And that I want to say that's the mindset that even to this day, I struggle with. It's like, you know, even when I have my own frustrations with the dating apps and with Instagram, it's like this thought pops into my head where it's like, hey, this is another hot girl that you can't have.
Yeah. I feel like I've only recently gotten over the whole, like, why can't I have this person? Like, what? Like, you're right here. Like,
it's crazy that that's the mindset. It's like,
you're 3,000 feet away.
You're hot.
And you're looking
beautiful
for someone.
You should be
with me.
With me. And that's basically what, like, pop culture basically always taught us, was just like,
yeah,
if you're nice,
a good
you
person
should have
and
it.
you like them, then y'all should get together, and y'all probably will.
And at least we had the ability to forget, but that wasn't the case anymore. So I like this girl, and I invite dancer friend to be my date to probe. And I remember thinking, because at this point my youth pastor takes me aside and is like, "Hey, did you know that Curly has been depressed for almost a year now?"
Oh my God.
And I was like, what? No, I just thought she was sick. He was like, yeah, she's been sick because how this played out.
Wow.
And I was like, well, shit. And this was after, and I remember thinking, this is like the shittiest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
So he takes me aside and tells me about this. This is a month after we had the premiere. And I remember when I invited the redhead, my sister's dancer friend, to be my date, my sister told me, she's like, you know, Curly's going to be there because she was in my movie. And she was like, Grace, ever being cognizant of how things affect others, was just like, I think you should be really careful because this might
be like a trigger.
This might be a trigger for my friend. And I was like, and I remember thinking, good. But I didn't know at the time that she was like really going through depression. But I remember thinking, good. I want the world to know, having grown up, being a homeschooled little Christian freak.
Oh, you wanted people to know you were desirable?
Yeah.
Oh.
I wanted to know I had that control.
Oh.
That I was in.
Goodness gracious. If you were raised differently, you would have been a straight up sociopath.
I would have been a Slytherin.
You are a Slytherin.
And I think that's why, like, I understand now when people are like, oh, you're a Scorpio. Oh, you're a Slytherin. Oh, you're this. I'm like, I do
have those tendencies.
I was saying, I just was raised by really amazing parents. Yeah. And it hurt me.
Good job on reeling that one in. Y'all aren't listening, right? Good.
Don't be. But it is insane because I remember thinking, wow, I'm in control and I'm in charge. Mm-hmm. And It's insane that that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And I used to think I was such a good guy, and now I'm like, God, this is just shitty behavior that all men kind of have. And if you don't have someone calling you out on it, it's just like, it's insane how with even the nicest seeming kid, which I really was genuinely a caring kid, and I still acted out of this self-preservation of like, I don't care. I want people to look at me with this pretty one. The one I thought was a little bit prettier than Curly, one I was interested in. Didn't work out. Anyway, fast forward. I see this girl at my pool. Not interested in her at all because she's a foreign exchange student from Denmark. Super hot, but not my type. So I was like super comfortable talking with her. She was an exchange student with a family that I knew. So I was like, oh, hey, what's your name? She's like, oh, my name is this.
You and the foreigners.
And I was like, oh, yeah, you're kind of blah, blah, blah. We were talking. And then I reached out to her on MySpace. I was like, hey, we should go to the pool together. Because, she was going to be leaving town, going all the way back to Denmark. And,
my gosh.
Yeah, she was going to be going back because, the school year was over. So she was like, I leave in, a week. And I was like, oh, okay, we should hang out, at the pool. Go to the pool. Every single guy that had gone to school with her was also there. And they were like, oh, what's up? And they were like, here she was, this beautiful bombshell, was hanging out with me. And she was interested in me. And I remember thinking, wow, not only am I desirable, but I'm more desirable
than every mother
all of these guys
in the world.
And they were peacocking so hard.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they were doing everything. They were just like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. Like, oh, I'm gonna backflip this way. And she grabbed my hand, was like that, and she wasn't even that aggressive. Like, she just was like, oh, let's jump in together. And I was like, yeah. Let's. There's so many avenues I could take with this story, but one thing led to another, and we started hanging out more and more often. I knew it's summertime, and summer of 2008. It's like, I have less and less time with you. And eventually we hung out one day. She calls me that night and it's like, I really wanted to kiss you. And I was like, oh,
bet.
I wanted to kiss you too. So I go straight to Wikipedia and I look up how to kiss.
Yeah, I did that.
And I have to say, that next morning, I kissed her pretty good. What?
I'm dead. But I was told that I was a good kisser on my first time too. So
I will say,
looking it up,
ladies, pretty good kisser.
Hey. You can't advertise, fellas.
I think I'm pretty good. And I've been told I'm pretty good. I'm actually a really good kisser because I will say I pay attention to what they like.
Yeah, that's how girls kiss.
Is that? Mm-hmm. I don't pay attention to that.
No, I was like, yeah, guys kiss too. Like, I like this, and then girls reciprocate with what the person's giving them, and and that's why people, because I read a article of interviewing a bunch of different bisexual people, asking who's better at what, and usually girls are better kissers,
right?
So, and the ones who say why, that's why they say. So apparently, we got a good kisser on our hands.
So yeah, my first kiss was super cute. We were walking around the neighborhood. There was bunny rabbits hopping around, and it was
where the hell did you have your first kiss? A Disney movie?
It was in my neighborhood. It was it was amazing. Honestly,
where did you grow up?
We just kept kissing and kissing and kissing, and hell. Then she left, and I was sad for all of a month. And then my second kiss was 2 months later. With a girl I met that night.
For a month, and then you went a month and found someone else.
Yep.
There you go. Way to move on.
And that girl was someone I met that night.
Oh.
We went straight to kissing. I remember my sister walked in on me and was like...
I would be surprised if I didn't know you well.
And, can I tell you something that's really funny?
Yeah.
About my first kiss?
What?
So, I'm telling this story years later. I've never told you this. I'm telling you this story years later with two of my friends. And there's this one kid, we'll call him Charles.
Oh, no, you did tell me that.
Have I told you?
Yeah.
So Charles he wasn't raised Christian. He joined my youth group years later. He was a friend of my sister's. And Charles ends up becoming a really respected youth leader. And in this, but he's young. Like, he's younger than me, but he's kind of like one of those cool hip, like, man, you know, I wasn't with Jesus, but now I am, you know. And I really love Charles. Everybody loves Charles. Like, he is like one of the most popular people just in Texas, period.
Are you gonna be allowed to say this?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
As soon as he told it to me, it became fair game.
I guess.
This kid, we're talking about my first kiss, and he's like, wait, what was her name? Oh, yeah, she went to North Crowley, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, she went there like in the year of 2000 something. I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, she was like blonde and was from Denmark. I was like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, oh yeah, she sucked my dick.
Oh my God.
And I went, and my friend was like, bro,
yeah,
what the fuck? Like, what did you just say? And I stood there, and this is years later. This is like in 2000.
You're just like,
and I was like, huh. And what was more frustrating to me was something that, because of the way I was raised and because I didn't fit into the normal cisgender, like, oh, I'm super straight and blah, 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 because I was allowed to express my feelings and allowed to kind of figure things out, I had started noticing that the way men deal with their sexuality and the way they deal with their need to be accepted, it comes out in very passive aggressive ways of like having to assert their dominance.
Yeah.
And it was just insane that in expressing a very innocent, very fun first kiss moment, that the first thing that that just came up was, I have to insert my penis into that.
Literally.
And it was like, I understood. It was like, dude, I'm so sorry. And I was like, I'm not even mad at you. I just know that that's just how men we are. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we can't possibly allow you to get a one-up over us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've got to assert our dominance.
Yeah.
And it just was like, bro, it's insane when you see people's, like, when you see them on autopilot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
When you can tell that someone's just, they don't even know why they're doing something. It's just
what it is.
The way they're programmed and wired. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right. I find that story freaking hilarious. Because it was like, oh, she sucked my dick. And I was like,
I would have punched him.
What? Your dick was in my first kiss?
Oh, I'd be like, well, suck this. And I'd punch him square in the nose.
And it's like, it has nothing to do with even her. Like, by the way, I'm not shaming her at all. It's just Charles. Like, he just had to insert that into my story. Great. So that was my first kiss with both Louisa and Charles.
Oh, you've had more dick on your lips than I have.
It was unwanted.
That's funny.
Unreciprocated.
I'm sure she brushed her teeth
months later. Yeah.
At some point between the two.
And it's funny too, because it's like, I wasn't shocked. Like, I knew that she had definitely probably been with other guys, which is fine.
Yeah.
I just didn't need it to be
weird
Charles.
It's weird for it to be somebody that you know and for them to just kind of like drop that information like that.
You know what's interesting about first kisses? So I don't know if I've mentioned this. I haven't officially ever had sex.
Same.
So what's interesting is how I learned to express my sexual drive while still maintaining what had been taught to me was a pure thing. Mm-hmm. This is your treasure. You hang on to your virginity and you don't give it away. And while my parents, thankfully, my parents are amazing. They do not hold things against me. They're very forgiving. They're very loving. They're very accepting. But I still grew up in a society that was like, if you're a virgin,
you're worth more.
You're worth more, especially if you're not guys as much, bro. Guys don't talk about their virginity.
They don't care about guys.
Guys literally, like, I feel like I was the only one who actually was actively ever mentioned that I was a virgin.
Yeah.
Even back then, people were shocked just because by the fact that I said something about it. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, with girls, it's like, oh, she's a virgin. Oh, she doesn't have sex.
Or
oh,
she's not a virgin. Mm. Yeah.
We know what she does. And that's insane. Like, even when like both sides should have been getting praised for it, and there shouldn't have been, like, it still was sexist. It was still like,
I remember there was this girl she came to my school in middle school and she was gorgeous and I had a crush on her. And she, like, I don't know, She's really pretty. Cut forward to the my freshman year. Like, I would just I would talk about her something like, oh yeah, have you seen blah blah blah? She's cute, blah 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 blah. And like some of the first things out of my friends' mouths would be like, oh, you know, she had sex in 7th grade, right?
Oh my God, she's just trash her. I guess.
And I'd be like, and like, who cares? Like, what? Like, and they're like, oh, just I don't know. Like, yeah, shut up. Like,
which is insane. You know, it wouldn't even be as like that would be frustrating. Even if they really were judging her. Even if they're like, oh my God, she had sex in 7th grade and genuinely weren't interested in her.
Yeah.
But that you know damn well when they say that shit, they're like, oh, I wish she would do something to me though.
Yeah, because people want to like shame somebody for doing something with somebody else that they want them to do with them. Like, oh,
that
you
makes
can
it
have
even
sex with that guy, but like not me. Fuck her, she's a slut.
It's like, at least if you're like gonna judge me, don't be hypocritical.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing. It's like I'm not gonna judge you for having sex. Like if I wasn't raised the way I was, I might not have sex in 7th grade or 8th grade. I don't remember what grade it was. It was in middle school. But I was like, yeah, it might fucking happen. Like it's human nature. You're gonna have sex with somebody. Sorry. Like I'm not judging you on that. Anyways.
Yeah, it's insane that people do that.
Yeah.
They all the time. And it's like they're the ones that are like, bro, did you know she had sex? Like, oh bro, did you know that she like, and they keep mentioning like, God, do you want to have sex with her?
Do you want to have sex with her?
No. Like,
good. So you can go shave your back now.
Do you know Benji's like gay? Like, I mean, you know, you soaked somebody. Like, oh, I don't know. Like, I wonder what it
like made out with a guy. And
I wonder what his like lips would taste like. You know what I mean?
Wait, what?
What? I'm not gay. No homo. But like, wouldn't it be great?
Yeah, no, I've met that guy a few times.
Really?
We had fun.
I will say, I'm gonna say it's so fascinating talking to gay men and asking what their like childhood, like their high school experiences were like. 9 times out of 10, they were surrounded by guys who are like, bro, I'm not gay, but like, you know, you can suck my dick.
There's so many of those stories that I heard. Unfortunately, I missed out on them because I was not out in high school. So.
Bro, like, you know, I'm not gay. I just totally like making out with a man, getting married, adopting 2 kids, and dying of old age with him. But I'm like, no homo.
No homo. Can somebody be in a full gay relationship and on their wedding day, their vows are like, no homo. You may now kiss your husband. No homo.
He's like, your son, sir, yeah, your husband who's been dying of cancer that you've been married to for 40 years has something to say. No homo. No homo. Bro, no homo to you too. Dad, you adopted me. Shut up, Gerald.
Shut up.
What was? Oh, so I'm expressing. Basically, this was a tangent of like I wanted to start expressing. I was like, man, I'm super attracted to girls, but I can't have sex. So I would, I didn't make out that much. Like I made out with 2 girls in 2008, 1 in 2009, and then I was like, next girl I kiss is gonna be my wife.
Aww.
So here's the thing. Something super interesting started happening. This string of circumstances would start to play out. And by this, mind you, other than Louisa, I'm pursuing girls who believe essentially, who are from my church. I'm pursuing girls who live the same lifestyle as me.
Then you start going after them secular
What
girls.
I'm saying is I'm chasing after Christian girls. And what I start to notice, every time I'm interested in a Christian girl, and you know where I'm going with this, every time I'm interested in a Christian girl. Now, I'm aware enough at this point that I wasn't the best guy. I've made mistakes. I've apologized for them. I'm becoming more and more self-aware. But I will say, I feel like it's not outlandish to think, for me to be thinking like, oh, I don't want to say the word deserve, but I should
be with a good
Christian girl. Yeah. Like, I'm not like the type of guy who's like not a virgin sleeping around, but then like I want my girls to be good and Christian, and like I'm not this entitled prick.
Douche.
I still have my issues that I need to work out, but what ends up happening though is like these girls, I would be interested in them. Literally the second I'd be interested in them. None other than Joe fucking Schmo walks in, who's only been Christian for all of 2 breaths.
Yep.
But he's super into it now.
Yeah.
And he's like, bro,
I'm on fire for God.
And they're like, man, and this is when I started noticing, I'm like, I don't know if Christian girls are really interested in Christian guys.
I don't think they are.
And I'd be interested in having a female guest on and talking about this with her, because there is an interesting thing in the way, you know, because it also plays into the way that men are presented to women. It's like, you want a Christian guy, but like, you want like a rugged,
You want to have
good
fun with that.
You want to have hot, good Christian sex in missionary position, but with a big, strong body, you know?
I thought you were about to say a big, strong something else.
And it's so frustrating because you get presented with these weird conflicting views where it's like, you're supposed to be a good Christian person, and then you'll end up with a good Christian girl.
Yeah.
But then you start to realize that, and this was just the case, and I will be very explicit with this. This is just my personal experience. The women I interacted with. This is not a blanket statement of all women, period.
There you go. Good disclaimer.
This is just the women I have interacted with. And it was my perception and my embittered frustration.
Yeah.
That perception
Where you
of these
start
women.
to blanket people.
So then I start to like, I'll see what I want to see. And what I was wanting to see was that these women were more interested in what they were sexually attracted to than who was actually a good, viable Christian candidate. So I started to get frustrated, and years would go by where I wasn't making out and I wasn't doing anything. I was like, I put that behind me. I'm going to be interested in the right girl. And then I start to say, this is not going anywhere. Fuck it. Fuck it.
I swear.
And bro, I remember when it really, because up until then, you know, there were girls who were interested in me. All of them were like long distance. There was a girl from Hungary. There was a girl from,
I remember her.
Yeah, there was a lot of different girls I was interested in. And then eventually when I moved out here, there's this one girl I made out with. I was like the first girl I'd made out with in years. The first time I came out here.
I didn't realize you went through like a multi-year dry spell.
Yeah, and I thought this girl tried taking me out on a date, and I was not in the least bit interested in her. She was slightly attractive, and I knew that if I hung out with her enough, I could make out with her. And you know what? I got desperate one day, and I hung out with her, and I knew we'd make out. But I kept, because I felt guilty, I kept dropping morsels. I was like, man, this is a really fun experience.
Yeah.
And eventually she called me, this girl, kudos to her. She called me on my bullshit and was like, why do you keep saying experience? Is not something going to happen from this? And I was like, no.
Call
and she
it.
was like,
that's why you call niggas out, because niggas creeping. Stay woke.
That's me creeping.
Yeah.
Oh. And I straight up, I went to her house and I knew, if you go to this girl's house tonight, you're going to make out with her and you have no desire to follow through with her, and she has a desire to follow through with you. Shitty behavior.
Yeah.
So I made out with her. It was hot and heavy, and I said all those bullshitty arounds like, oh, you know, this is a great experience. Like, you know, it's too bad. And she was like, wait, are you not going to make it? I was like, well, I'm leaving. And she's like, did you know that? Like, I can't remember how, but she made me admit it. And I said, I was like, I'm so sorry for being that shitty. And it, you know, we made up.
Barely.
But that was a dick.
Yeah.
It was a dick move.
So wait, so when she asked like, why do you keep saying experience, was it then or was it before you guys made out?
No, we had been making out.
Okay, so
and
she didn't kind of call you out until after.
I was like planting the seeds of like, all right, we're making out, but I don't want to have to commit to you.
Oh my gosh.
So you know what I learned after that? I need to start pursuing women who I don't have to commit to, but will actually make out with me and are sexually attracted to me.
Club girls.
So that was an interesting transition there.
Yeah.
Because it was like, because I started getting frustrated. I was like, well, Christian women aren't into me, but I don't want to be shitty and like make out with the girls who are interested in me, but I'm not interested in just because I need to get off. I was like, so I'm going to have to find this in between where I make out with girls who don't care about like nothing happening.
Yeah.
And it's like all of this is happening because like I never knew what to do with my sexuality. I didn't know how to like direct it properly. Because it was like, it was talking to me. It's
hard. Like, yeah, like
you're told like you can't date. You gotta the person you're with is the person you're gonna marry. And I'm like, eventually I'm starting to push like,
well, yeah, that's not always the case, but you do have to date with intention.
I do think so. But when you're a kid and you're like holding back a lot of these like these physical expression, like this physical desire, and you don't know what to do with it, and you're told that the only time it's going to be able to get paid off is when you're married.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, and then you hold it back, and then eventually you start feeling resentment towards the one person that's supposed to pay that off for you. And then you're like, well, F it, I'm going to do whatever I want with someone who doesn't have the same moral standards. You know?
Yeah.
Because I'm now 25 and I've only really kissed certain girls.
Now?
What? No, I'm not 25 now. I'm 28.
Oh, during this story.
Yeah, like I was 20.
I was like, you're not 25. What are you talking about?
Wait, what do you always say? You always say it's your 21st birthday?
Yeah, 22nd.
Okay, now we're turning 22nd.
Yeah.
Remember, because I'm so much older than you.
Yeah, so if you're 28, I'm only 22.
Bitch. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I made
rough.
out with that girl,
I,
came back to Texas, went back to California, and I was like, I kind of want to do things.
Yeah, that's why I handle things myself, I would say.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Is that code for masturbate?
Yeah.
Oh, why does it sound so weird? I handle things myself.
Just because I don't like to go out and do stupid stuff with shitty people. Also, it's a different situation for me because since it is like kind of the flip of like there isn't really a wholesome place for me to be able to express feelings and desires and try to find a relationship. It's only kind of a pool of people who most of which have rejected any sort of religion and are kind of like, oh, well, if you're not going to accept me, I'm going to be the opposite and I'm going to do all this stuff. And I'm just kind of like, can we not? And they're like, no. And then they disappear and they flit away. So it's kind of like, I just have the opposite problem of I am somewhere between either, oh, you have to go and hook up randomly with people and hope that at some point something comes of that, or you have to sit at home by yourself and hope that something comes along at some point if you are open to it, or I don't know. So I'm just like, so I'm kind of
frustrating.
I was like, I'm at a pause right now, or I really always have been. So yeah.
Yeah, it's because also something I've noticed over the years. I'm like, wow, gay or straight, men can be shitty.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're just like, you're a piece of meat, and I want you, and I deserve you. I'm entitled to you, and you're like, no.
But also afterwards, I don't want to talk to you or look at you.
I see it with guys who are interested in me. I see it when I'm interested in other women. I see it with the guys who are interested in my sister. And it's this entitlement that we've been allowed to get away with, which is just like, and there is nothing more demoralizing than being looked at by an older man and being essentially turned into a piece of meat, you know?
Yeah.
It is. And I was like, is this what women feel? This sucks.
That's what people say is homophobia is literally just being afraid of being treated the way that you treat women.
I don't think any man should ever look at anything
and just be like, that's mine to have fun with.
It's mine. You know, and I mean, that should go both ways. I don't think any woman should look at a guy or a girl that way, period. But the frustrating thing is with men, you have the ability to get away with it more. And 8 times out, whatever. Majority wise,
8.5 times out of 10.
Majority wise, the man has an ability to overpower. And so it's like, it's no person on either side or either sexuality should ever feel entitled to what they're interested in.
Yeah.
But men do tend to get away with that a little bit more because it's just, you know, we're bigger and we've been in charge for longer.
Yeah.
And it's a very humbling thing to be like, wow, I'm being looked at solely as a sexual thing to gratify. And I don't like it because I am a human being. I've got feelings.
You better come correct. You better buy me dinner and a show.
And I did all of that to women too. And even in my my really tame Christian way, I still did shitty things. And like my sister, she always like laughs every time I'm like, I feel bad about Curly. And my sister's just like, she's fine. And I'm like, I know she is, but it's insane to think of how easy it was for me to slip into that type of
destructive behavior.
Sucks.
Yeah. Sucks.
I feel like we should end it there.
Are we going to finish another time or just go ahead and finish now?
No, we'll finish another time.
Okay.
We can always pick this up. We're ending it at I started wanting to kiss a lot of girls.
Because this is the whole thing for you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And then I just have 2 more crushes to run down.
There we go. Well, if you guys haven't completely tuned out and unsubscribed, hopefully you can continue to follow us because we'll have more of these amazing stories in the future. Obviously, when we set out to do this show, we wanted to talk about how pop culture affects us. And while we do a lot of fun stuff here and there, I think this is pretty in depth on like how it's actually actively wormed its way
personally
into our everyday interactions with people, both toxically and apparently in your case, pretty positively.
Yeah.
Just don't not be you.
There you go. Be true to you.
That's the moral for today's episode.
But we're both in the same boat, so it doesn't matter. Apparently, it doesn't work either way.
It does work. Our stories are still going,
Yeah.
There's a good Christian
person out there for me.
I was going to say for both of us.
There's a good Christian person out there for
there's
us.
a good Christian third person, and then we can all 3 get married.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my God. It's going to be so great.
So the 3 of us are going to get married. You, me, and her, we're going to get married.
That's so sad.
He is cute.
Anyway, you can follow me at Josiah J. Rizzo.
You can follow me at Benji Watch. That's Benji without the I. Watch. Benji Watch, like you do on Netflix.
And you can follow both of us and the show at Pink Popcast.
That's Pop, P-O-P.
And be sure to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts.
And then make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and click the bell for notifications on our latest uploads.
We just want to say thank you guys for tuning in each week, and we have more for you in the future. But until then, I'm Josiah J. Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays, we wear pink.